Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the MSPAA podcast. I'm live on location. This feels like a special episode because both me and the guests are live on location. I'm your host. I'm live on location. This feels like a special episode because both me and the guests are live on location. I'm your host, Mike from Cyber Confidential, and today our special guest is Dan Benson from NexGen Solutions, coming at you from his truck. Dan, great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
What is that, a Gladiator?
It is a Gladiator. I'm actually about to step outside, so that way I can get some fresh air. And we can continue this. Maybe not. It's a little too noisy.
Sweet. Where are you calling in from?
So I'm in upstate Maine at the moment. Well, actually mid-state on the coast. Things are always moving and constantly moving, so I never know where I'm going to be throughout the day. But today I ended up going down to a museum, helped them out with a little bit of a data issue. Was able to resolve the issue pretty quickly, and the plan was to be home for this, but duty calls. So
exactly, the life of a business owner. All right, give us the backstory. Tell us about NexGen Solutions.
Well, my business partner Kevin Green and we started probably 3 years ago. We sat down at the table and just had a couple of drinks, as most good stories start with. And the next thing I know, we were talking about both of our jobs. And I went from being a telecommunications lineman, and he's an IT manager for another company. And we just we talked about how much people pay for different types of services. And we kind of figured, you know what? I think we could do it better, for cheaper, for a more appropriate cost. And that's exactly what we've done.
What got you thinking about that? Because, that's a fun conversation over a couple beauties, but that's not what pushes the ball over the edge and gets you going to start a business.
No, okay. So the ball pushing over the edge was, it's a little personal, but as a lineman, I was in charge of doing outages in the state of Maine. And I missed a couple of holidays, and I've got a 2.5-year-old daughter. And I wasn't able to be there for those important days. And that was the icing on the cake. I missed a couple of holidays. A lot of people might judge and say, oh, it's just the nature of the business, it's the nature of the beast. But I didn't want it to be my nature. I didn't want to miss important milestones, and I didn't want to miss out on those activities during those days with the whole family gathered together.
That's a wonderful Genesis story. How did the two of you incorporate that into the business plan so that you can find the balance? Because if your core motivation was to make sure that you had a balance between family time and business, you're working to live, not living to work. How did you design the business around that?
Well, it kind of designed itself, to be honest with you. We started off with the idea, then we started off with everyone started to pitch in. And then we went to a few BNI meetings. We're members of the BNI chapter. And we took one job. We got called to help someone out with a job. And then we ended up proving ourselves, and we took over the job. And then we just kept meeting more and more people. And along the way, the family actually stepped in and helped out. I mean, we kind of pulled things together, and everyone took a little bit of a role, and that's kind of calmed down now. But we have a set schedule Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends, if something happens to appear up on the weekend and it's not anything too crazy or it's not a commercial job, sometimes the dog or the kids will come with me too, and they'll learn a little something along the way as well. One of the things I try to teach the kids is, responsibility and work ethic. And you can't just expect something from somebody without doing something in return.
Fantastic. I remember going to work with my dad when I was probably too young to legally go on a job site because he was a carpenter, and rough hands was the school of hard work for me. How's that grown over the last 3 years? Have you been hitting your objectives for keeping that work-life balance over the first 3 years?
Well, we're still in our year one. So we started in July of 2025, and then before that, we were just doing some kind of, I would call them private contracting jobs as a field technician or a field engineer um, on the side to kind of build the funding to launch NexGen. But so far, it's been growing pretty well for the first, I'd say, for the first under a year so far. Um, we'll see how things go for the next 3 years. Optimistic, but as they like to say, plan for the worst, hope for the best, plan for the worst.
Right on. What type of clientele do you like serving?
We don't really have a niche yet. We've found that we can provide services to general clients, whether that's in the manufacturing or transportation or restaurants, nonprofit organizations. We do like to entertain the idea of a few more HIPAA compliance clients and CMMC clients. Um, we've been working on our own software to be able to kind of meet those new laws and regulations that are in place in 2026. Um, but we just like honest, good clients so far. We've had a few clients that I could classify as, we could classify them as troublesome. But really, it just takes sitting down, having a conversation, and really understanding what they're dealing with, what they're going through, and then trying to customize what your services are to what their needs are. And that's been the most fun part about sitting down with different types of clients.
Nice. Walk us through one of those conversations. What's the word on the street for small biz in Maine?
A lot of people pay for IT services and they have no idea what they get for on the smaller clientele side. So we try to break it down as Barney style as possible. But one of my favorite conversations that I've had is actually with another member of the BNI chapter, and they let me look at their bill, and I got to physically look at their bill, see what they were paying for, and then I asked them if they knew what those services were and if they could tell me the last time they got those services. And they said, "Oh no, I have no idea. I don't even know what that is." And so I kind of looked at it and went through, and we actually unplugged a few of their devices to see if they were actually getting monitored services, and no one ever reached out to them. So we kind of looked at it. We gave them a call about a couple days later and found out that they're just paying this bill for no reason at all, without any actual services. And then we were able to lower their bill and get through that process pretty smoothly.
Nice. How do you incorporate that lesson on, that's how they perceive their problem is getting overcharged. How do you now incorporate that into your offering so you make that value visible to them constantly?
We have a different structure of our packages. We have some network packages and individual price packages. And instead of starting off by having a conversation about what we offer, they instead like to lead off now with what is it that you do? If you were the client that asked, what is it that you do and what is it that you need from your IT services? If you don't need much, I offer what you need. And if you need a lot more than you think you need, then I try to explain it to them and I try to show it to them. That doesn't mean I get the client, but at least they have the knowledge of what it is that they should or shouldn't have. And I can actually I've even referred other IT companies to potential clients.
Okay, sweet. So this is a core, core pain that a lot of people have when they're buying. Most buyers of managed IT services do it once or twice in their business careers. So it's reasonable to expect that they don't really know how to buy it, let alone pay for it every month, right? They're empathetically uneducated buyers because they don't do it that often. How do you incorporate that into the initial conversations you have? Because that's the tone that I'm hearing from you, which is great. How do you get that messaging out there?
To give an honest answer, I'd say I'm still working on it because I succeed sometimes and I fail at other times. I feel that over explaining something causes a friction where they feel as though that you are, maybe not being as educational as they think. Instead, they think that you're talking down to them. But really, it comes down to physically showing them. So a lot of people have a lot of different understandings of what IT is, and sometimes they just think that the internet company is their IT.
Right.
So finding a polite way to talk about it without making them feel belittled in the conversation or uneducated in the conversation, and kind of opening up that avenue for them to turn around and say, "Well, what does that mean?" Instead of you just coming out and saying it. I found that giving them that kind of nudge to ask the question is the safest route so far.
Totally. Yeah, we got to lead with empathy. It's that's that's effectively why they come to you, is because you do know better, which is why they would trust you entirely to take care of this for them. So always lead with empathy. As a killer takeaway so far. All right. So you're coming up on your 1 year anniversary of going hard at this. What's the most expensive lesson you've learned so far?
Um, not to tell, I would say not to tell a client that no matter what, we got your back. That's been the most difficult lesson because that was misperceived as we will handle everything and anything for you without cost.
Right, totally. There's a mismanaged expectations is the source of most frustrations between client and provider. So that's a killer lesson to learn.
Yeah.
How? What have you done to get better at that?
Um, we've come down to adding to our master service agreement clear expectations of our support hours and what support means. And then we've also made a much more clear expectation of what constitutes as scope of work and out of scope of work. And then the kind of services that we can offer outside to our clients who are registered with us in case they need those services.
Totally. Right, especially if you're leading the conversation from their previous provider, whether it's DIY or from Cox or something or another MSP. If you're leading that conversation to you by helping them cut out things they're not paying for, then at least you have their attention on like knowing what they're getting for the money, which is great.
Yeah.
And then you can continue to clarify that. Say, yes, this is exactly what you get for the money. It's a very good price. If you ever need these extra stuff, that's going to be let me get you a quote on that. That's the magic line. Let me get you a
Yeah.
quote on that. It's the polite way of saying it's outside of scope. I'll get you a quote.
Yeah.
Sweet. So what's the next year look like for you?
The next year is about reaching a higher clientele basis. I've got some advertisement campaigns going into place. We are going to spend a lot of time on finalizing some of the software that we have created ourselves. And then we are going to broadcast that to a lot of this to the businesses here in the state of Maine and across the United States. But we're going to stick with Maine first. It's not saying that we're closed off to the idea of going outside of the state of Maine. But and then we've got a few other collaborations with some other companies about buying some of their clients from their book of business that they deem are not really worth their time anymore, or it's too much for them to handle, or they don't have the staff to handle it. We're gonna do that, and then we are in the process of right now. This very second, my business partner is setting up a giant test run of virtual computers and potential problems to use for demonstrations for some of the expos that we want to visit.
Sweet. What are those?
I know that there is the MSP Expo down in Florida. I don't know if it's going to be held again in Florida next year, but we want to go there. There's a tech conference here in the state of Maine we'd like to go to, and another one in New York State that I would like to go to. But I'm not entirely sure the full details of the one in New York State. I'm waiting for an email and a phone call back so I can have more of an understanding of what that entails. We're also going to try and make it into a few of the transportation industry expos, see if we can walk around or set up a booth. And then there's a few other general here's my business events here in the state of Maine through the Chamber of Commerce and BNI events.
Nice. Face-to-face handshakes. That's the way.
Yes.
Keep getting that out there. That's your fastest way to learn. Fantastic.
Yes.
Awesome. Where can people find more about you?
So we are on Facebook, but we also have a website at www.nexgensolves.com, and you can get in contact with me directly through that webpage. There's a few different spots to fill out a contact us form. It goes right to my email. My phone number is listed on the webpage as well as the Facebook page, and we do take Facebook messages as well. We try to post content on Facebook. More exciting things to come, of course. Right now, it's all just. Right now, it feels a little minute because we're posting generic things, but I really am excited to get sign-offs to be able to show some of the more complex things that we do as soon as I can get approvals and regulations set in place for that.
Fantastic. All right, Dan, thanks for joining the show. That's Dan Benson from NexGen Solutions coming at you from the Gladiator in Maine. Dan, good luck.
Oh, yeah.
Congrats on making through the first year. Good luck with the venture.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, thanks everyone for joining us on